who spark curiosity. We build character. We nurture each student to become the best version of themselves. An education that prepares students not just for success, but for life. Buckswood is an adventure and a journey, not one measured in kilometers or miles, but in memories and moments. At Buckswood, we spark curiosity. We build character. We nurture each student to become the best version of themselves. An education that prepares students not just for success, but for life. Buckswood is an adventure and a journey, not one measured in kilometers or miles, but in memories and moments. At Buckswood, we spark curiosity. We build character. We nurture each student to become the best version of themselves. An education that prepares students not just for success, but for life. Buckswood is an adventure and a journey, not one measured in kilometers or miles, but in memories and moments. spark curiosity. We build character. We nurture each student to become the best version of themselves. An education that prepares students not just for success, but for life. At Buckswood, we spark curiosity. We build character. We nurture each student to become the best version of themselves. An education that prepares students not just for success, but for life. Buckswood is an adventure and a journey, not one measured in kilometers or miles, but in memories and moments. At Buckswood, we spark curiosity. We build character. We nurture each student to become the best version of themselves.
Lesson of the morning, school. When you turn up to a formal function, be it an assembly, a church service, a wedding, a christening, whatever it is, you always turn up with your jacket until you're told to take them off. It is warm in the room, so school, please feel free to take your jackets off now. Naturally, if you're in a state school, you'd have rocked up without them, but you're not. So, we're here to celebrate the final assembly of term and the graduation assembly, which is dedicated to the upper sixth of 2025. It's a combination of a message, we're going to sing. We very rarely sing in school, but we're going to have a go at singing I Vow to Thee, My Country. We'll have some readings. There'll be some performances, like there normally are in assembly, the presentation of the house flags, the national anthem, a few notices, and we end in about 45 minutes, one hopes. Ladies and gentlemen, parents, staff, former students, and of course, the most important people here, the Buckswood students, welcome. As we gather to the end of the year celebration, I want to take a moment to reflect not just on the academic and sporting triumphs, but on what it truly means to be a Buckswood student. A poem, if I were a Buckswood student. I'd wear the uniform with pride. I'd take the time to polish my shoes, thinking of the path my life might take. I'd knot this tie with care. I'd lift my head and fill my chest and walk with an air of gratitude. I'd wear this badge as if it were my beating heart, holding it dear and letting it guide my actions. I'd wear this blazer with a sense of occasion, recognizing that I am part of something greater than myself, a story of promise, of privilege and of potential. If I were a Buckswood student, this uniform would anchor me in 90 years of proud history. It would make me part of a unique tribe of people who have enjoyed a spectacular schooling experience, a brotherhood, a sisterhood I'd be honoured to belong to. I'd recognise the promise and advantage I've been given. I'd work again and again to fulfil it. I thank my lucky stars that this is where I landed. This uniform would remind me of my responsibility to be true as steel, upright, a person of integrity, learning always towards fairness, kindness, and politeness. I resolve to be the best version of myself in every moment, that others could only wish to wear this uniform might be inspired by my humility. And when my school is on show, I play my role with pride. Now, boys and girls, of course you are the Buckswood students. Make yourselves and your families, your teachers and your school proud. Win or lose, on stage or in the wings, on the field or in the classroom. Remember your heritage and your responsibility. In a school, there are triumphs and challenging moments, often in the same day. I believe that educating our scholars is a process of drawing out what is already inside them. Creativity, compassion, and courage. It means guiding without commanding, encouraging without demanding, and showing students the extraordinary things they are capable of doing. It is foundational to Buckswood that students are reminded that to be human is to be imperfect, that it is acceptable to make mistakes, that to succeed means not to achieve, but to do your very best in all ways and at all times. What we are teaching you is that it matters not whether you fail or succeed, but how you respond afterwards. The problems are natural and expected, and what matters is the optimism and focus in which you work to solve them. And for that to happen, we rely on something that sits at the heart of this school, our 12 pillars of education. They are our compass, our reason for being. This week, we have focused on one of the pillars. We have used them to explore, discuss, and apply what they mean in real life. They are not just theory, they are living values that shape the Buckswood difference. Each one is equally important. Together, they shape the complete person. Scholar and staff alike must continue to engage with these. Even something like the uniform reflects all 12 pillars. It's our badge of honour. Think of the way your favourite football team lines up at the beginning of a match. Not a crease in sight. Heads held high, proud to wear the badge. That's you. You wear your uniform and live your life with the same pride. As we are all part of the same team, or tribe Buckswood, we are the same. As I've said before, things don't always go right. Sometimes at home, sometimes here. But as a family, we pull together. We don't just complain, we think creatively. We work together, and we find solutions. That is the spirit I want to see in you. Buckswood is all about people. It's about friendships. It's about now. And the journey that we're all on together is measured, as I say, not in kilometres, but in small moments. Moments of kindness, moments of bravery, and moments that reflect our badge and motto of tradition, of discipline, of honour, respect, honesty, and success. Now let me share a little story from our archives. One of our lads from Schoolhouse came to school one morning. Everything looked fine until we glanced at his feet. 2 different shoes, one black, one brown. When we pointed it out, he looked down, shrugged, and said, "Well, at least they're both polished, sir." We laughed, sorted him out, and then off he went to school. But the point is, he showed up, eager, proud, and committed, even if slightly colourblind when it came to his shoes. That story has stayed with me, not because of the shoes, but because of the spirit, the Buckswood spirit. Show up, be bold, be willing to get it, and perhaps get it wrong sometimes, as long as you're trying to get it right. And while I'm speaking about what really matters, let me pause here and talk about friendships. Because at Buckswood, we believe in many things: excellence, responsibility, resilience, but none of it matters without friendship. Friendship is the glue that binds our community together. It's not just about who you sit with at lunch or who's in your team. It's about showing up for one another, helping carry a heavy bag or a heavy heart. It's about honesty, loyalty, and being someone else can trust upon. Let me remind you of a small story, the old fable of Aesop, that says so much about friendship in the simplest of ways. A bear and his 2 friends. 2 friends were walking through the forest when suddenly a bear appeared. One of them, thinking only of himself, ran and climbed up a tree. The other, knowing he couldn't outrun the bear, lay down on the ground and pretended to be dead. The bear sniffed him, thought he was lifeless, and wandered off. When the bear had gone, the man in the tree came down and asked, "What did the bear whisper to you in your ear?" The other replied, "He told me never to travel with a friend who deserts you at the first sign of danger." It's a simple fable, but an eternal truth. True friends is not measured by how people act when things are easy, but how they stand beside you when times are tough. At Buckswood, we aim to be kind of school, where no one is left behind, where we learn not just from each other, but for each other, where you're part of something so much bigger than yourself. So, if you do one thing before you leave this school for the summer, do this. Thank your friends, the ones who stood by you, who made you laugh on the hardest days, who picked you up when you were down. They are part of your journey, part of you and your journey, and you are part of theirs. Thank you, and remember, this is not the end. It's a pause in your journey. A moment to reflect. Be proud, of course, and prepare to step boldly forward together. So my advice is go well, go proud, and of course, go Buckswood. We'll move on to the next bit of our programme, which is the song, the hymn, I Vow to Thee, My Country, which is a very patriotic song about one's own country and standing proud and true to it. Please stand. The next item on the programme is the reading in. The readers can come up.
If, by Rudyard Kipling. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise.
If you can dream and not make dreams your master. If you can think and not make your thoughts your aim. If you can make your triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. If you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make the trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken and stood and build them up with worn out tools.
If you can make one heap of all your winning and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss and lose and start again at your beginning without and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they're gone. And so hold on when there's nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on.
Crowds and keep your virtue. If you can walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, in all men count with you, but none too much. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is war. You'll be a man or woman, my son or daughter. The next item on the programme, we're rattling through this, is the song You'll Never Walk Alone. With the choir come up. Lovely, thank you very much, Bob. I have a poem. It's called Footprints in the Sand. It's been quite meaningful for the upper sixth that have graduated today. One night, I dreamt a dream as I was walking along the beach with my Lord. Across the dark sky flashed scenes from my life. For each scene, I noticed two sets of footprints in the sand, one belonging to me and one to my Lord. After the last scene of my life flashed before me, I looked back at the footprints in the sand. I noticed that many times along the path of my life, especially at the very lowest and saddest times, there was only one set of footprints. This really troubled me. So I asked the Lord about it. Lord, you said once I decided to follow you, you'd walk with me all the way. But I noticed that during the saddest and most troublesome times of my life, there was only one set of footprints. I don't understand why. When I needed you the most, you would leave me. He whispered, my precious child, I love you and will never leave you. Never ever, during your trials and testings, when you saw only one set of footprints, it was then that I carried you. The musical interlude now is one of Michael Jackson's Heal the World, and would very much like everyone in the audience to participate with the chorus, which I'm sure we all know. And we should really get in the mood and get our phones out and turn the old torch on and just, really want to get into this one. So, choir, please come up. One time school, you can get your phones out in assembly. Mr. Shaw is a sound so won't on the stage.
There's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love, and this place can be much brighter than tomorrow. And if you really there's no joyful giving. If we try, we shall see. In this place we cannot view. We will dread to stop resisting against our living. In it, fear is not always just enough for us to grow. Make a better world. A better world. Make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. Dear Lord, hear my talking. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. Enjoy the world, sing with joyful praise. And the world that was the day will shine again in grace. Then why do we please the surface of our song? Let's play to sing to heavenly because with hearts so hard, let our spirits never die. In my heart, I feel you are all my brothers. Little world, without you, together in our happy tears. See the nations, their souls into my shoulders. Get good, remember that if you care enough for the living, make a better space, make a better place in the world. Make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. Dear Lord, keep protecting. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. Hear the word. Make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. Dear Lord, keep protecting. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. Hear the word. Make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. Dear Lord, keep protecting. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. Make a better place for you and for me.
On a serious note, the most applicable song to sing at a gathering like this, which is an international gathering of the family, considering the madness that is going on in the world outside our gates. And I think, ponder on those moments of the beauty of the estate and the friendships that you have here at school. It's great. Turn up. Let's turn up. Now, in fact, I did actually say that school, you could get your phones out during assembly. But I didn't actually say the principals could get their phones out during assembly. I'm conversing with Mr. Shaw. Mr. Sample, your phone. Well, actually, it's a bit expensive than that. So, I'll take donations later. Now, we're going to move on to the next part of our proceedings today, and that is the presenting of the house flags. And what happens is that the house staff and the captains of each house will come up, and the house captains will hand over their house flag to show that they have finished their duties as their house captains. And of course, the house masters, house mistresses will thank them very much for that. And they'll leave the flags here on the headmaster's chair at the front. So we remain seated as this happens. Thank you very much. thank you to the house captains, housemasters. The most beautiful piece of music that Highland Cathedral. The next item on the programme is the national anthem, the British national anthem. Each of our schools around the world, because Buckswood is part of an international global organisation, they have their national anthem played at their graduation service. Now, the British national anthem has, I think, about 6 verses to it. No one ever knows anything beyond the first verse. So you'll notice all those from the United Kingdom will suddenly look down and try and find the words for the second verse. So we're going to sing both verses of the national anthem. Please stand. So we're coming to the end of our celebration in Great Hall today. Notices for the day. Straight after this assembly, there will be a football match. So it's former students, old Buckswoodians versus the Buckswood team. There'll be a rugby match, the old Buckswoodian rugby team versus the Buckswood team. And there will be in here also a musical concert for you to enjoy. So please, after this, wander around the estate. The sun is coming out. It's a little windy out there, but the sun is coming out. Go and have a good mooch round and look at some of the classrooms, please. School, please do show your parents and guests around. And then after that, we have lunch at 12:15. Lunch will be on the headmaster's lawn, and it is for everyone, for students, for staff, and for parents. But of course, students, you will show your good manners, and the parents and guests go first. There's enough food here to last us a week or so. So no rush for that. Lunch will go on between 12:15 and about 3 o'clock. So it's going on all afternoon on the top headmaster's lawn. 1:45 this afternoon, those participating in sports. You meet in your houses on the back drive. We did a rehearsal yesterday with Mr. Sampson. So you meet down there, the bagpiper will bagpipe us onto the field, and then sports will start. Sports will be going on from 2 till 3:30. 3:30, afternoon tea is served in the dining room. So grab some tea. The chef has done some most amazing scones and milk tart and chocolate goodies. So everybody can pile in there, grab some tea, get a bit of a sugar rush ready for the prize giving and graduation ceremony, which is in the hall between 4 and 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock, those graduating will pile on the bus. Don't forget your overnight bag, folks. Will pile on the bus and they'll be going down to town, to the Bank Hotel, for a mini feast before they go off on their ventures for this evening. There will be a bus also for parents that, and guests that wish to go to the town rather than getting taxis. It may be easier for you, but that'll be coming back at about 6:30 for you. So if you want to have a bus, then please wait behind for that. But today is a celebration of our students, for everything they've done, everything they've achieved this year. There will be, of course, photographs taken throughout the day, and I have to tell you that if you don't want your photograph taken, then there is a special bag you can wear over your head. I had this from last year with some little eyes. So, if you are that sad and don't want your photograph taken, please feel free to walk around without your head. If a health and safety announcement, of course, if the fire bell rings at any point in the afternoon, then we'll all meet on the front field out there. But God willing, this afternoon will go exceptionally well. You'll have a lot of fun. It's all about having fun and, as I say, celebrating the success of the school and the success of the student. We'll finish in here now. I've got a little text from the chef that says that he's now ready, so to let them out to hall. So I've done my part by keeping you here, but we'll finish on the school prayer. Let us pray. Let us pray and bow our heads in thought, so that in the words and instructions that follow, we have the opportunity to interpret them in a way that will help us to develop as individuals. A few words to help focus and encourage the minds of those who teach and care for you. Let us remember that at Buckswood every child has a talent. It is our job to firstly find that talent and to encourage each and every child to be the best at what they do. Here at Buckswood, it is our responsibility to cast the net of opportunity so wide that any talent gets a chance to develop, and to ensure that many of these talents should be just as highly ranked as academic scholarship. The concept of the average pupil must give way to the concept of an infinite variety of youngsters heading for an infinite variety of successes. And secondly, as I say the words of our school prayer, putting aside which religion or culture we are from, we should all focus on the values that we as individuals and as a school stand for. This week, make us trustworthy, honest, reliable and kind. Help us to keep our promises and to strive for success. Help us today to keep our tempers and control our tongues, to keep our thoughts from wandering and our minds from straying, to ensure that we have no enemies but deal with any problems through clear dialogue. So bringing us to the end of today with nothing to be sorry for and with nothing left undone. Amen. School, if you could put your blazers back on, please, for the procession.